Welcome back to the Real English Podcast, Work and Life. I'm Michael.
And I'm Sophie. Great to be with you all today.
So, Sophie, I want to start with a question for you and for everyone listening. Have you ever been in a conversation in English, maybe at work, and someone asks you a question and suddenly your mind just goes completely blank?
Oh, absolutely. It's like a computer freezing. You know the information is in there somewhere, but you just can't access it. Total shutdown.
Exactly, the brain freeze moment. That's what we're talking about today. Why it happens, especially under pressure at work, and what we can actually do about it.
I think the most classic example is the team meeting. You're on a conference call, maybe with international colleagues, you're following along just fine. And then suddenly the project manager turns to you and says, Sophie, what are your thoughts on the Q3 projections? And nothing.
Right, just silence. And it's not that you don't have thoughts, it's that they've suddenly vanished.
They vanished, or you can see them in your native language, but they won't come out in English. It's incredibly frustrating. And the longer the silence goes on, the more you panic.
And the pressure is immense. It's not just meetings. Think about a job interview. You're trying to sell yourself, answer complex questions, and make a good impression, all while your brain is juggling a foreign language. It's the ultimate high pressure situation.
A job interview is the perfect storm for brain freeze. You rehearse your answers, you feel prepared, and then they ask you something completely unexpected, and your mind just empties out. It's terrifying.
Yeah, the panic spiral. Or what about when your boss just stops by your desk for a quick, unexpected question? Hey, can you give me a quick update on the Miller account? There's no time to prepare, and that pressure just hits.
Or even in a more casual setting like networking, someone asks you, so what do you do? And you stumble over a description you've given 100 times before. It's that feeling of being put on the spot.
So let's get into the why, because it's not about being bad at English. A huge part of it is something called cognitive overload.
Cognitive overload. Sounds technical.
It does, but it's pretty simple. Imagine your brain as a computer processor. When you're speaking your native language, the task is easy. It uses very little processing power. But when you're speaking a second language, your brain is doing multiple things at once.
Right, you're listening, trying to understand the words, translating them in your head.
Exactly. You're translating, you're thinking about grammar rules, you're trying to find the right vocabulary, and you're trying to formulate your own answer. It's like running four heavy programs on an old computer.
And then someone puts you on the spot.
And that's like trying to open a fifth program. The system just crashes. Your brain basically says, that's too much, I'm shutting down for a second. And that's the blank moment.
That makes so much sense. It's not a knowledge problem, it's a processing problem. And I think another huge layer on top of that is performance pressure,
Oh, definitely.
especially at work. You're not just having a chat with a friend, you're being judged. You're worried about sounding intelligent, about making mistakes, about your boss or colleagues thinking you're not competent.
The fear of judgment, it's huge.
It is, and that fear creates anxiety, and anxiety is terrible for memory and processing. It actively works against you, making it even harder for your brain to access the language it already knows. It's a vicious cycle. You're afraid of messing up, which makes you more likely to freeze, which then reinforces the fear for next time.
Totally. It's like trying to thread a needle while someone is yelling that you're going to fail. It's almost impossible. And this all ties back to what linguists call automaticity.
Automaticity, like being on autopilot.
Pretty much. In our native language, speaking is automatic. We don't think about verb conjugations or word order. The words just flow. But in a second language, for most of us, it's not automatic yet. It's a manual process. Every sentence is constructed piece by piece. So when pressure is applied, that manual construction process just breaks down.
And this really gets amplified in specific workplace situations. I mentioned conference calls earlier. That's a huge one. The audio might not be perfect, people have different accents, and you're trying to keep up with a fast moving conversation.
Right, and you feel this pressure to jump in and say something smart, but by the time you formulated the perfect sentence in your head, the conversation has already moved on.
Exactly. And then you feel like you missed your chance. Presentations are another one. Even if you've practiced, the moment someone asks an unexpected question during the Q&A, that cognitive overload can hit you like a ton of bricks.
All your preparation is for the plan part, not the surprise question. Client conversations are also high stakes. You want to build rapport, sound confident, and represent your company well. That's a lot of social and professional pressure on top of the language processing.
Absolutely. The stakes feel so high. You're not just worried about your English, you're worried about losing a deal or damaging a relationship. It's no wonder our brains sometimes just say nope and check out.
So, knowing all this, a big part of the solution isn't just about learning more vocabulary, it's about shifting your mindset.
Okay, I like that. So, what's the first shift?
I think it's embracing communication over perfection. In a work meeting, speed and presence are often more valuable than a grammatically perfect sentence that arrives 5 minutes too late.
That's a big one. So many learners are trying to build the perfect, most eloquent sentence in their head before they speak.
Right, and while they're doing that, the meeting moves on. An imperfect, simple idea shared in the moment, it's infinitely more valuable than the perfect idea that stays in your head. Your colleagues don't need a Shakespearean sonnet, they just need your input.
That's so true. And it touches on another point. Silence can be misinterpreted at work. If you're consistently quiet in meetings, people don't think, oh, they're just taking time to translate. They might think you're not engaged, you don't have ideas, or you don't care.
Exactly. Your visibility suffers. Speaking up, even imperfectly, shows you are present and contributing. It's about being part of the conversation.
And I think it helps to remember that even native speakers don't always speak perfectly. We hesitate, we use filler words like and we start a sentence and then rephrase it.
All the time.
Yeah, it's normal. Striving for this impossible standard of perfect instant fluency is just setting yourself up for failure and anxiety. Allowing yourself to be human and imperfect is a huge step.
Okay, so with that mindset, let's talk about some practical, in the moment strategies. The first one is simple: learn to buy yourself time.
I love this one. So instead of just sitting there in panicked silence, you use a phrase to give your brain a few extra seconds to catch up.
Exactly. Simple things. Someone asks you a question and you can respond with, "That's a great question. Let me think about that for a second."
Right. Or could you clarify what you mean by, or even just repeating the question back to them slowly? So you're asking about the Q3 projections.
Yes, it signals that you're engaged, it confirms you understood, and it gives you maybe 5 to 10 seconds for your brain to stop panicking and start processing. It's a game changer.
It really is. Another tip is to stop translating word for word in your head. This is a hard habit to break, but it's a major cause of that processing delay we talked about.
The translation engine is just too slow for real time conversation.
It is. So the goal is to start thinking in chunks or phrases. Instead of translating, how are you doing today? You just know the chunk, how's it going? You start to think in these ready made blocks of English.
And a way to practice that is to just narrate your day to yourself in your head in English. Okay, now I'm going to make some coffee. I need to send that email to Sarah. Simple stuff. It gets your brain used to forming thoughts directly in English without passing through your native language first.
That's a great exercise. And my final tip would be to focus on the other person and the conversation, not on yourself.
Get out of your own head.
Exactly. When you're panicking, your focus turns inward. You're thinking, oh no, I'm going to make a mistake. They think I'm stupid. My mind is blank. Instead, try to genuinely listen to what the other person is saying. Be curious. Ask a follow up question, even a simple one.
That really takes the pressure off because then you're not performing, you're just connecting, you're having a conversation. So, to bring it all together, that mind blank moment is not a reflection of your English ability or your intelligence. It's a normal brain response to cognitive overload and pressure.
Absolutely. The key is not to fight it with more grammar rules, but to manage it with a better mindset and some smart strategies.
Right. Be kind to yourself. Aim for connection, not perfection. And use those little phrases to buy yourself the time you need. Your voice and your ideas deserve to be heard at work.
Well said. That feels like a great place to wrap up for today. Thanks for listening to the Real English Podcast.
We'll see you next time.